Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Best Damn Arm Wrestling Sports Show. I'm Derek Smith. Been arm wrestling for like 11 years or so. Here to hang out with these guys. We got Reza, we got Scott down here killing the game. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you're here with Reza from South Arizona and
Scott Wynn from Southern California.
Woo!
Yeah, what's up, Derek? It's been a minute, man.
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here. Happy you guys started a little channel. This is awesome. Any kind of content out for arm wrestling is good content.
Hell yeah, and you fucking blew the hell up, bro. You are
You talking about physically? I am getting jacked. Or are you talking about like on social media?
both, bro, but I'm just saying, like, straight up, dude, like, your fucking stature, I'm like, holy shit, next time I see you, I'm gonna be looking up like this, like, damn.
Yeah, just don't stop. You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep it pushing. Keep it pushing.
Yeah, so what got you into the sport of arm wrestling?
Let's see. Before arm wrestling, I was a video game player, professional Halo player, right, for Xbox, and I would fly around the country competing in video game tournaments. And really long story short, I was at a national championship for Halo, and some guys were like, "Hey, you gotta come arm wrestle this kid, man. He's 15." And I was like, I don't know, I was like 23 or so, and I was like, okay. And I see this little 15-year-old, this little skinny kid sitting at a table, and it's surrounded by people, kind of like picture like Game of Arms, right? There's a bunch of people surrounding a little table and a little kid standing there. And I'm telling myself, I'm like, there's no way this little kid, I know there's tricks to arm wrestling. I knew there was something with the wrist. And I was like, but no matter what, I'm too big. There's just no way this kid's going to beat me. I'm just way bigger than him. And so I go compete with him. The kid just shoulder rolls and presses me. And I'm like, no, hold on. Redo. Like, you cheat, you used your body weight. Like, redo. So do it again. And he slams me. And I'm like, what in the fuck, man? I'm tripping out. And turns out that's Ethan Fritchie, right? So Ethan was the number one Gears of War team, which is another video game, number one Gears of War team in the world, and they also had that video game at the Halo tournaments. They had both games there, and so he beat me, and I was like, "That's it." And I was kind of on my way out of the video games at that point. I was kind of getting out, and so I decided to go home. And I was like, "I'm gonna learn about this arm wrestling shit," and went home. And I'm a super obsessive person. I got One Love tattooed on my arm it's because like it says Eine Liebe, because I'm German, but one love for like one obsession, that's how I am. I get one track minded on stuff. So I switched it to arm wrestling, went home, went wild as far as doing as much research as I could. And then it took a little while, but I finally got a hold of Alan. I got hold of Carolyn. Actually, I got Alan Fisher's phone number, and I called, and Carolyn answered. And she gave me the address for my first event to go watch, which was the UAL event in Los Angeles, where the one where Lupke's and Bajent are pulling, and he's like, stand up, biggin, that one. So I was in the crowd watching that. And then
Was that UAL 1? That was UAL 1 at Muscle Beach?
No, it was the one after that. It was like UAL 2, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I found out some information about the next tournament, which was like a couple weeks after that, which was the Backyard Brawl, where Devin and Travis Bajent faced off. And they pull up in like the monster truck and like the Ferrari and shiz. Anyway, so that was my first time ever competing. I never did a practice. Went straight to my first tournament, entered, and I lost to Bruce Way first round, and I met Bruce, and that was awesome. And then Alan Fisher tried to teach me how to top roll like 30 seconds before the tournament started. I'd never arm wrestled before at all. He's like, yank back and I'm like, dude, that's such a technical move to have to learn like right then. And so I lost to Bruce Way, and I go up to him right after I lose. I'm like, hey, Bruce, a lot of respect. I was like, what do you think I should have done? I don't know how to do this. And he's like, well, if Alan didn't tell you shit, what would you have done? And I'm like, probably just turned like this. And he's like, well, go do that. I was like, all right. So I went up there, and I beat like 3 people in a row. And I beat Gary Roberts, and I beat some other people in my first tournament. And then I got back up to Bruce, and he beat me again. But so that was my first event. And then that's where it really opened up. That's where I met JB Sheldon. That's where I met a bunch of people, got phone numbers, went to my first training. And that's where things like really started as far as meeting people.
And what year was that in? That was what, 2010, 2011?
Great story, dude. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's like it's been about 11 years, somewhere in there. So somewhere around 2010.
Nice. And what was the first big like win you had in your career, or tournament that you felt you could look back at and just kind of call it your first?
Well, there's wins that meant a lot to me, but then there was wins like on like the national scale type of wins. So like my first like big wins for me was when I would like sneak in a win on like Jeremy Petroncio or John Hoffman or Don McClary, who was my first brick wall I ever met, right? First guy that ever just stonewalled me, and I didn't understand what was going on. So when I finally got those wins on those guys, that meant a lot to me. But on like a bigger scale, when I was at UAL, which one was it? I beat Todd Zilla. I picked him up off the elbow pad twice. And it was a left-handed match. And I remember it was one where where
No.
John Hoffman pulled Mike Todd left-handed on the at that one. But I remember I was going around asking everybody. I said, "Hey, I have Todd Zilla next round. What do I do?" And I think I asked like 3 or 4 people, and they all said, "Try not to get hurt, and you're gonna lose." Like that's what they all told me, and I was like, "What?" And so I didn't know what to do. And so I think one person said, "Try to top roll." I was like, "Okay, that's all I can do. So let's try that out." And I started, and he elbow fouled trying to get a hold of me. And the next round we started, I yanked back as hard as I could, and they stopped. And I was like, "What happened?" And they're like, "Winner." And I was like, "What?" And I got the win. So that was like my first like big win ever. But it wasn't really pinning him. But that event, I went to the finals against Chris Chandler. So I got second place left-handed that one. I beat John Buxton. I think
It sounds like in that event you learned the power of your post.
Well, I was probably too dumb to even acknowledge that, but I just yanked as hard as I could. He couldn't hold on to me, so I don't know. But that was more of a fluke win. It's not like that power carried over and I just started trucking people at that level. It was kind of like a fluke win, but it was still a big one for me.
Yeah, and how about events? Like, what events have you gone to and had?
Man, there's been so many. I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of events now, or not. I don't know, 100. It feels like it's been hundreds and hundreds. I don't know. I've been to so many. I have a bad memory. I just remember like little instances. I don't I really don't know. I've been to WAF twice. I got 11th left-handed the first time I went in Malaysia. I got 9th the second time I went, which was in Budapest in Hungary. I went to the Arnolds and I got 7th at the Arnolds. I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, like that's all that's coming to me right now, And then random wins here and there. This last like a month ago, I beat Ron Bath after he had a super match. I beat Ron Bath, and then I beat Abo.
So impressive. That win over Ron was an impressive win.
Yeah, it was cool. He really went into my power. Like left-handed, I'm pretty one-dimensional, and he perfectly went to my one dimension. And I was like, oh yes. And so it worked out. I have a really good rising ability with my left hand and a pretty good cup. And when people challenge my rising and cup and try to go high with me in the hand, I love it. It's like my favorite thing in the world because I can go higher than you. If we want to play the up game, I'll go higher. And so it kind of goes back to what Scott's been telling me the whole time in arm wrestling: just go elbow forward and go up. Like he's been saying this, as long as I've known him. So they went. Ron went up into my hand, and then that Abo, I can't even say his last name. He was ranked 7th in the country left-handed at the time, and he went right into it as well, right in my wrist. And I was like, yes, thank you so much. And just toppled it over. So it was good.
That guy's a dude too. That guy's like one of the top dudes in California.
Yeah, Abo's no joke, and that was my first time ever pulling with him. I know he's explosive. And then we pulled right-handed, and I just turned him in. It went over, but yeah, that was a big win. So things are feeling good. Things are feeling really good right now, and I'm moving forward. So
got your confidence going. So you got a match coming up against in San Diego at the what's it called,
the King of Cali.
King of California.
Yeah.
Big bad Tom Nelson.
Big bad Tom Nelson. I mean, I like, contrary to newer arm wrestlers and the people that are coming into the sport now, like my beliefs and my approach towards the sport are way more old school. I have a ton of respect for people. I'm not all about shit talking. I believe you have to go through a certain process, earn your stripes, do things right. And I completely agree with that. And I think in order for us to move forward, we kind of got to know where we've been and pay homage to that. So in regards to Tom Nelson, I mean, as long as I've been in the sport, Tom was always hailed as #1 right and left hand in California. It was pretty much his state as long as I was around, and I acknowledge that completely. He's been a little bit inactive, like one tournament a year for the last like 2 or 3 years. So he's been kind of inactive. And in that time is where I kind of started blowing up a lot. And so a lot of people started saying things like, Derek, you're #1. People would practice me or pull with me and they'd go, oh, dude, you're #1. Like that started. And obviously with the social media following of me and that growing, people, like if you ask people, okay, name 10 arm wrestlers, I'm probably going to be on the list of 10 arm. They only know like 10 arm wrestlers. Somehow I'm one of those 10 now. So I pretty much online, there's just a lot of people saying, Derek's #1 in California. So recently Tom decided to make his comeback or whatever, start being active. And he made a post said, who thinks they're #1 in California? And my name was definitely thrown in the hat there. And I'll take it. I mean, I haven't been, California arm wrestling stressed me out for a long time. Back in the day when I was competing with Jeremy Petrencio and John Hoppin, when they were really active, and a lot of guys like that, like the UAL, prime UAL days, I was trying hard. I wasn't training correctly, didn't really know what I was doing too much. And the only person that would ever help me out was Scott here when I would see him every once in a while. And it was just kind of like bumbling around, trying to figure out how to train, how to get stronger for this. And I couldn't find a method that really worked. And so I would just get my ass kicked a lot, but I stayed consistent. I never stopped practicing. And so those days were kind of stressful, and like people like Jeremy ended up like moving, like people like it just fell out, and it was a lot of shit talking. I just didn't like the vibe of those days for me. And so I started leaving. I went to Malaysia. I was just like, get me out. Not that I like conquered California. I was just like, get me away from all this drama. Like it's just stressing me. It's making me want to quit. It's stressing me out. And like you couldn't go anywhere without people talking shit. It was just so much. And so I went to WAF and I started like just trying to leave and just kind of see where I'm at in the world. Like and stop focusing on this shit that's giving me a headache. So now this match, in a way, it's kind of like things coming full circle, you know, in a way. Like I can't ignore California. That's where I live. That's where I'm from. That's where my team's at. It's just, I feel like I need to, this is me trying to come back. You know, you go to, what's that one movie where the guy was fat in high school and he goes out and he tries to come back and find the girl he was in love with in high school. You know what I'm talking about? It's kind of like, I feel like in my head, it might not be that way, but in my head, it feels that way. Like, okay, I got to go back. Let's handle this California thing and try to figure this out for once and for all and deal with Tom Nelson and try to get this all set. Hopefully. Right.
Sounds good, man. What do you think? You feel pretty confident, like going in, or are you training your ass off? What are you doing for it?
I'm training so hard, Scott. I mean, right now I'm taking a month off the table. So I'm in the gym 6 days a week, eating like a monster, just I'm super obsessed, more obsessed than I've ever been. And it's been this way for a little while now. And I feel really, really strong. And I'm hoping if things are going the way I want them to go, and this is I'm not talking crap about Tom Nelson, but I want this to be like, when people watch it, like, oh, that shouldn't have even been a match. Like that, I want it to look like that. That's the plan, right? Like, oh, it's not even on the same, that's the goal. Because of where
you're doing it right. You're
You
doing
know,
it,
like,
not-
Tom Cruise, that's for
no,
sure.
you're training properly. And that's, you're taking time off the table and you're focusing strictly on gaining strength.
Mhm.
And that's going to give you gains. And I promise you, you're already looking like a beast, bro. I already told you, you look like a whole fucking different Derek, dude. It's going to be.
Here's my spin on that though. Michael Todd took this approach, so be careful, okay? There's nothing like table time. Whether you're pulling hard or not, that's different. You should get on there and work the technique, not hard, but just work your movements.
Right.
You know, Mike, you know, you saw what happened to Mike. I mean, I don't know how else to explain what happened to him. That's what he's saying, pretty much what he did that he's not doing. So I'm going back to the basics.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I have like 2 weeks left or so of this month off. And then it'll be back to strict table time. Because I've been doing table time consistently for 7 years, as long as I ran my team every single Sunday. And now, especially I have a teammate, Mike, Scott knows of. I don't know if you know of him at all, but he's an absolute tank. And so he's so strong. It's at the point where when I hook with Mike at practice, it's damaging. It's more hurt. It hurts more than it helps. Almost like that's how strong he is. Everything gets torn and ripped open.
Welcome to the lightweight world, bro.
So I have to pick and choose kind of when I practice with Mike and the angles and stuff like that, because it's really easy for him to hurt me or me to hurt him, you know, with the amount of power that's there.
Yeah,
But I got to dial it in. And as time comes near the event, I'll start doing way more table time and way less gym. I just right now, while I have time to stack on the horsepower as much as I can and add all this poundage, I'm going to do that and then just start a ton of table time leading into the event. Is the plan.
What are you weighing now?
I should be around 360, but my scale at the gym is one of the old school scales and it stops at 350. So I know when I went to Hawthorne, I was 357, and I feel like I'm a little heavier than that, but I don't have a scale that tells me right now.
Holy shit, that's like 3 Areza.
Yeah, I think it's like, good 2.5.
And I'm doing pull-ups. I'm doing pull-ups like 3 times a week.
That's awesome, dude.
I've never done pull-ups. I'm just starting to do it. It's weight assisted. Don't get too hyped up, but I'm doing them 3 times a week. So every pulling day, every like bicep or back day, I start with pull-ups with like 6 sets of pull-ups, and I do less and less weight assist. Because Levon, who my goal is to beat Levon, right? My goal is still to be number 1 in the world. So that's what I'm looking at. And Levon's 380, so 20 pounds heavier than me. And he's doing 100 pounds belt. He's adding 100 pounds, doing sets of 5. They're like partials, but still, that's insane. So I'm just working my way slowly and carefully, and I'm just building the foundation of pull-up. And it's going well. It's going really well.
A lot of connection in that simple movement.
Yeah.
So
Hey, let's talk about that match with Mega Mike at Hawthorne, man. That was pretty crazy. And I know you kind of went in, it looked like you went in a little bit of state of shock.
Leading to that event, like Mike we've been wanting to get Mike on a big platform to compete and to show his skills. So we went to Arizona, and a lot of super heavyweights didn't show up. I mean, it was basically Southern California super heavyweights, Tony Tomlinson, those guys. Mike did great, went undefeated right-handed in supers, just kind of walked through everyone. No one even made his arm flinch. And so, but he was kind of like, oh man, it's the same guys where we're from. I wanted to get on a bigger scale. So then he started talking about Hawthorne. And so Mike immediately after Arizona was like, I'm going to Hawthorne. I was like, cool. I was not planning on going, but Jamie Sheldon was going to go, and he's like, hey, Dallas was thinking about going with him, but Dallas didn't end up going. So Jamie's like, I have a spare room and a spare place in my car if you want to roll. So like a week out, I was like, you know what, let's go. Like I've been working out really hard. I haven't competed. Let me just go knock the dust off this. And the Tom match has been announced. I was like, I gotta compete. I gotta get in there. And so going into that match, I know Mike. I mean, I've taught Mike. I've been there since the beginning. So I know his powerful spots for sure. Like inside, Mike is an absolute tank. And usually at practice before then, we'd go about 50-50 at a hook. It depended on what angles I'd hit and stuff. But so I was like, I really want to test my hook. I want to see how powerful I am right now. So I can, with my right hand, I can top roll or hook. I'm going to go both because I top rolled for the first 7 years, and now I've been hooking since then, basically. So I was on fire. I was pulling everybody, and the plan was to lay down the mic because I wanted him to go and see Cody Merritt, and I wanted him to go pull Ron Bath and them to see what he's all about. So I laid down the first time I crossed paths with him. And then I was like, all right, if we meet up in the finals, I kept telling him, I'm going to top roll the shit out of you if I meet up with you in the finals, Mike. And I was like, I'm just going to bust that hand back. And then my hook was feeling so good. And then I got that Abo guy right-handed, and I threw him in a hook. Dude, I couldn't feel anyone. I was just walking through it. It felt that way. So walking up to the stage, I was like, oh, I know they called me and Mike, I'm like, I know I'm supposed to top roll him. I know his spots so well. But I was like, dude, my hook feels so good right now. And I was like, you know what? I'm here to test myself anyway. That was the whole point of me coming. Let's test it. Let's see if I'm as strong as I feel right now. And so my hook with Mike, I have to challenge I have to do certain things to hook Mike usually, but I was doing the same hook against everybody else. So I was like, I'm just gonna do that hook. The normal hook I'm doing against everybody else, see if it works against Mike. It did not. He has so much side pressure that my normal hook keeps my elbow in. I keep my elbow tucked and I slam sideways. Mike benches like 550 and he's like just an absolute monster. So if I keep my elbow tucked in and I hit, the moment he stops me, I'm already on defense kind of because my elbow is already tucked in. And I don't have enough chest and shoulder and sideways to battle him when he starts driving side because he keeps his elbow out. So he starts punching sideways and my elbow's tucked. So it's like this. And I can't combat that chest and shoulder with my elbow tucked. So normally when I hook Mike, I keep my elbow out and I pull backwards. And so it's pure bicep and cupping versus bicep and cupping. And my cup's a little more developed than Mike's because I've been arm wrestling a lot longer. But yeah, this one I just tried hitting sideways and I was like, oh no. And right when he got a hold of me, I knew where my elbow was. I was like, oh no, I've done this hook with him. It never works out for me. So I tried digging in and I couldn't. Dude, that guy is so strong. He is so strong. So all credit. I went to Mike. Mike beat me in a tournament. That's my boy. Super happy for him. The next practice after that, though, I chased him all around practice, beating his ass all over practice. I wouldn't let him walk away. I was like, give me my pride back. So, but dude, he is like, honestly, he's cutting down to 245 because he has a super match against John Hoffman on the same card. So Mike's cutting to 245 because that's where their match is at. And dude, if he keeps his strength at 245, I'm thinking within a year and a half, Mike will be top 5 in the nation at 245. If he can keep that strength,
Yeah.
good luck. Good luck for everybody else. That's wild.
Talking about top 5, what do you think about the current matches that have come up recently? For example, Devin and Michael.
Devin and Mike. So I've talked about this a lot on my show and on other shows. It's just like, I feel like for people don't like this because there's so many Devin fans, and I'm a Devin fan. Devin's helped me out so much since I started. He's my boy. But it's not taking anything away from Devin at all. He came in a 293-pound absolute monster. But in my opinion, the Mike that walked out was not the Mike that we're normally seeing. That's not the Mike that we've seen in WAL finals. I think that the Mike that walked down that ramp is weaker than the Mike that we've seen in WAL finals. Normally Mike comes flying out of the ramp and he's walking down the ramp. He's red in the face. And he goes, like, woo, all that shit. He walks up to the table and stuff. And he's usually like all serious. This one, he walks down the ramp smiling. He tries to shake Devin's hand. Devin slaps it. The normal Mike would be like, okay, let's go, bitch, and start losing his mind, right? Devin slaps Mike's hand. Mike laughs at it. Like, this is the biggest match of his life, as far as stakes go. And like, I don't know. And then I'm just like, the whole mode and the way he looked, everything was really off to me. The moment I saw him walk out of that smoke, I was like, this isn't good. This is not good at all. And then Devin walked out.
More
And I
like
was
a game, like he was hanging out with a homie and like
something was seeming off just for his body language, like big time. And people, I mean, then the argument, this is where it kind of gets into, people say that Mike started crumbling after he felt Devin. I think he started crumbling before, or whatever happened before that. I think it happened.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And so
Devin loves to
grip
up with people before the show.
You don't suppose he was overconfident, do you? Because I mean, coming into this, he sure seemed fucking hella confident.
Scott, what I'm saying is Devin before a match, like if you have like a face to face, like he'll grip up with you and like start fucking pulling you before the.
But this is their third time. I can't. People said that. Yeah, maybe he was intimidated by Devin. That's their third match. How suddenly now he's intimidated by Devin? Suddenly, like, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't believe that. And I think that when I went out to Mike's house a month before their match or whatever, and Mike I don't think he was overconfident. He knew on the way to the airport, he finally even told me in the car, he goes, Derek, I know it's going to be a war. He's like, I know it's going to be a dogfight. He goes, I have these hopes of things working out, but I know it's going to be an absolute dogfight. So he was giving Devin his props. He knew it was going to be like a battle. But the Mike that showed up that day wasn't acknowledging a battle. It was not the same guy in my eyes, but who knows what happened behind the scenes? I don't know. But the only reason I consider a successful in the eyes of the audience and us taking in super matches, to me, a successful super match gives more answers than questions. This one gave me more questions than answers, right? You're supposed to know after that super match is done who the better man was, and like that's it. We know where the rankings are now. There is no argument. After this one, I had more questions. I was like, what happened with this, and why did that move work? Like everything was just way different. I had more questions after this match. So in terms of like taking it in, I was like, damn it, dude. Now I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Devin took it up another notch.
Yeah, I think he did.
Physically, you know.
Devin had texted me that night. I got a text from Devin, kind of replying from a text a few days earlier, and he said, "I'm swinging for the fences," you know. So it wasn't like I could see he wasn't overconfident, and obviously he came in there fucking to put him away,
right?
And he had major hand control and fucking owned Mike, and that takes the fucking wind out of your sail. You know what I mean? If I go up to the table and this fucking dude just takes my hand and I'm trying to fucking do everything I can't, I'm like, my confidence goes out the window. And now I'm searching for answers. Like, what am I gonna, you know, this is just dominating me right now, you know?
But Mike's always had his hand taken though. How many times has he been in that position where his hand was dominated and he's like, time to go to war. You know what I mean? Like that's time to fight. That's Michael Todd's like MO. You know, break my arm. You know, like
Mike's mind was defeated somehow prior to the match, similar to what he's saying.
A crazy thing. So I talked to Devin recently, like 3 days ago or so, and I've had this question in my head the whole time. Traditionally, to beat a King's move, you climb. It's knuckles up, post, regrip, get out, own the hand. And then once you have enough hand, then you start applying the side pressure and pinning, just to amplify your leverage until you go for the pin. That's traditionally how people beat King's moves. Devin's grip, and Devin was the one that coined that. Devin was the one that their first time ever arm wrestling was the one climbing. And so this one, Devin, if you watch his wrist, he climbed a little bit, but then he went low, clamped on with his bottom two, and just rose from his thumb ridge as high as his arm so much longer than Mike's.
Who tells you to grip like that?
But it was the way that tripped me out is because if you were really, really, really scared and worried about someone's wrist, you would go knuckles up and post. Like you wouldn't even go offense at all at first. You would just be like all the way back to get into their hand. But the fact that Devin dumped and started going sideways in the beginning, it made me think that like, what, you weren't that worried about Mike's wrist for whatever reason, right? And so I talked to him 3 days ago. It's about specifically why he had that grip and why, like how he decided on that, because he was always climbing and I was pretty much right. He just was like, his wrist, whatever. He's like, I knew I was going to take it. And so I didn't need to do all that. I knew I was going to take it. And by the time I took it, I wanted to be in a better position, holding on to him with my bottom two. So that way I can clamp down on his pronation and start hitting hard sideways. But like,
you want to force the bottom of your palm into his hand so it stays flat to flat. There's no gap. And then you're holding on with those two bottom fingers. The top fingers are controlling the top. So he just dominated Mike and kept him flat wristed and didn't give in. And Mike wasn't able to get any outside pronation and just fucking end all right there.
It was great. It was a great approach from Devin. And once again, the master at work for sure.
Yeah.
What about Devin against Levon? What do you think that would happen?
Like, I just don't know where Devin's at. I just know he's a beast, but because like I don't know what Mike he tested himself against, so I don't know where Devin's at. I just know he's a beast, but I don't know if he's at Levon level beast or is he at like, I don't know, Dave Chafe, or I have no idea where. I know he's in that top.
You went out to Dubai, correct? And you actually got to train with Levon.
I gripped up with Levon once. We talked a lot and hung out, but by the time I saw Levon, I've already been out there like 10 days and arm wrestling almost every day. Like I couldn't even tell you anything by then. I got to grip up with him, mess around, and we laughed, but there was nothing serious.
How does his hand feel?
Thick. My hand was bigger. I think his hand goes like up to like right there on me or something like that. Pretty thick. The wrist is obviously really thick. Pretty meaty, but not like out of this world. Like, holy shit, I've never felt anything like this. But yeah, definitely a good size and good thickness for sure.
Yeah,
I would say John's hand is as thick, if not thicker.
18 months, you'll take him?
I mean, I want to know where I'm at right now. So we'll see the Tom Nelson, and I don't think 18 months. I don't know, but I don't know where I'm at. So I don't know. I know my trajectory is going way high, and all my numbers are going through the roof. Everything's feeling great, and my goal is to try to beat those guys. Right, that's my goal. And so I'm really interested after the Tom match, and there might be another match at the end of September as well with me. Me and Neil Pickup have been talking a lot about me and Arm Wars and trying to get out there. We posted something about maybe getting me and Lachlan, but Lachlan and Adair can't travel right now. And so there's another match maybe in the works I'm hoping for.
That seems like a mismatch. It seems like you're a lot bigger than that dude.
Yeah, that's what I was bringing up at first, but Lachlan does pull supers. He is number 1 in Australia overall, right, above everybody else. So I mean, it's a good match, and he pulls super. So I mean, I can't. If that's what he does, that's what he does. You're entering. Once you pass that 242 class, you're in my class now, whether I'm 360 or not.
What's your take on Hermes Gasparini versus Matt Mask?
Hermes. So there was 2 approaches to that match in my eyes. There was we want to see them go back at it, because was the WAL rules a fluke or not? Like, what happened with that? Would Hermes really have won if it was tight reffing? There was that aspect to that match. But the bigger aspect to that match, and I think the reason more people wanted to watch that, because we all want to know where the fuck Hermes was at in the world. What level is Hermes at? We had no idea. He just beat Vitali in a practice. You know what I mean? Like, what level is Hermes at? So there's kind of 2 reasons people were watching. Now, for the match, I was predicting Hermes. Before the match started, I had Hermes. I was just hearing he was way too strong and this and that, and I was like, okay, I'll go with Hermes slightly. It was a good match, but the important thing to me, the thing that's sitting in my head, is that Matt Mask got a win on him. Now, if we're holding Hermes to this Vitali Levon level, then do you think Matt Mask will get a pin on Levon right now? I don't think so. And I love Matt, but I just don't think he's at that level, right? But he got a pin on Hermes. So I think they would brick wall Matt right now, those top guys. And so in my eyes, I had Hermes at like, I think 6th before that match in the world. I think I moved him down to like 8th or 9th in my rankings, only because like if Matt can get a win on you, this sounds like I'm dogging Matt. I'm not all Matt's amazing, but I'm saying either Matt's at a really, really high level, like top guy, top 3, or Hermes is below where we thought, right? And more likely Hermes would be below where everybody thought, I think.
Yeah, so how about Katowski?
Dude, Tony, okay, he lost, right? And I thought, I definitely was predicting that Tony wasn't going to hold up, because I know Bo's hit R is amazing, but the fact that Tony held him in a hook, that little fact right there was amazing to me. I was so hyped, because Tony usually likes hand control and like more of a posting, controls up top usually. And the fact that he went all in and was able to make his hit R adjust and was like, dude, that was amazing to me. That was a win in and of itself to me, in my opinion.
That means I can hold him. I held Tony. What the fuck? Come on.
See, there you go.
Hey. I have confidence in my ability.
What's your target right now? Mainly Tom Nelson?
Well, I have the Tom thing, and I'm not trying to look past Tom, but I'm also not changing my trajectory too much toward what I'm going for. But internationally, I've made it pretty public that I really want to pull Alex Kardeka. Although I know I'm a big underdog, he was top 8. Just styles-wise and size-wise.
That's a match that in my head right now, before you said anything, when we were talking initially, that was the match I'd wanted to see.
Yeah, so on an international scale, that's what I'd like. In the United States, as always, I want Mike Aiello. I've been saying that for a couple years now. I just feel like Mike is the gatekeeper to the elite in North America. Once you beat Mike, you're now you're in one of the elites. Like there's no debating it. You're like a real deal dude. If you can handle Mike's speed and power, you have to have some really amazing characteristics to beat Mike.
They have this round. They got this round robin that's coming up. We actually, our last episode, we just interviewed a few of the guys at Jordan,
right?
You know, and I was gonna ask you, who do you think's gonna take that? Do you think Chance is gonna take it? Jordan's gonna take it? Don? Like,
I think Jordan's gonna be undersized a little bit. Although I think Jordan might be able to get, especially with his style, might be able to get Don. Overall, if you look at stylistically, I think Chance would have styles wise. I think he'd have the easiest bracket if he's firing off and they're all top level right now. Because Chance posts out, he won't get as tired. His wins that he does get should be pretty quick and crisp. And so, like, Mike's gonna go in. Don's gonna try to clamp and go backwards. Jordan will try to post, but I think Jordan's undersized for that. So I'm giving it to Chance, stylistically, unless Mike's able to just apply so much flop side that just opens Chance's arm straight up. So I think Mike or Chance, but I'm leaning towards Chance.
What if Mike top rolls?
Then the world implodes. I don't know. Like that'd be amazing. Although generally what happens in my experience is when you get a hardcore inside puller and suddenly they try to top roll, their top roll is super offensive. They go into people's palms. They don't go around. They go into people's hands because they're so used to going shoulder forward and applying inside pressure that if you have a good hand and someone top rolls that normally hooks, they're usually pretty easy to contain, in my opinion. I wish Mike would try to top roll me. I will clamp that dude's wrist down. So if he goes into my palm, whoop! But I don't think his top roll would be crisp enough to be able to handle those guys. You have to have an experienced top roll at that level against those guys. At a local tournament, Mike could top roll, but against those guys, man, that'd be rough. That'd be a rough sell.
Have you pulled any of those guys, Derek?
I pulled Don, my fourth tournament ever when he was at the Bakersfield tournament. And I was like 4 or 5 tournaments in, he flashed me, so I don't really count that. So besides that, no. Mike Aiello I've pulled twice, and he's beat me twice. I went out to New York, took his hand, and then we had like a 7-second war, and then he went sideways, or then he reeled it back in and beat me. And then at the Mississippi States, I tried to top roll again, but the setup was a little different. It was WAF, so I wasn't able to load as much, and then his hit got me, right? But next time I pull Mike, I'm hooking.
What about Chance?
Chance, I've practiced with him. After I had the super match with Devin Larrett, then he had the super match with Devin Larrett, and then like a week later we practiced, so we were both beat to hell. But I was whooping his ass all over that practice. But we were both beat up. So
yeah.
So. Hey, how's he on defense, Derek?
Chance's styles is a very offensive style. Because a low hand top roll doesn't afford you a lot of options. Once you're down there, you can't really do much but keep surging because you can't really go back into a hook. You can't suddenly rise out of nowhere, like because your riser's dumped enough. So it's a super offensive move. So if you can get him on the defense, there wasn't a lot of adjustments to be had, especially with my length and everything like that. For me, I was able to chase him around and secure him in when I get a hold of him. But that was just for my style, though, 'cause I'm really long. So it's a little harder.
Jordan, have you pulled Jordan?
Yeah, we had a round robin years ago, and he beat me in the round robin. I'm trying to remember. God, it was in New Mexico. We both posted, and it was kind of strained for a second, and I think my wrist cracked. I think it popped, and then he got me. So yeah, that was, I don't know how many years ago, that 4 or 5 years ago, about. So it's been a while.
How much time we got, Roger?
We got 3 minutes.
So what's wrong with you? What's up with this channel, you guys? Where'd this come from?
Shoot, this has been on my site for over 2 years, dude. Just sitting there waiting for Reza to get his ass in gear. I'm just kidding. He has the talent to make it happen. You know what I mean? I'm an old man, dude. The computer is like still foreign to me. So it's long overdue, but people have been, everybody's getting one, which is good. Right. And like we can tell in Reza, it's like we need to get it outside the circle, though. You know what I mean? We need to get it through the veins into other people's living rooms so that they see the stuff's going on.
Right.
The funny thing is Derek started in a similar time. I started in like 2010, and we both were at the same events at the beginning of the sport. I think both of us knew each other at the very beginning.
Yep.
And, yeah, it's kind of funny how times evolved,
Yeah, we're all Southern California guys, all following Scott's lead.
Yeah, and then when I initially started, I was doing like interviews with everybody on YouTube on the Reza Domaganian channel, and then I actually lost access to my own channel.
Oh shit!
And I still don't have access to my own
Oh,
channel.
no way, really?
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
It's a
nice.
harsh reality. So yeah, and I got like the video with Alan and Cobra with like 70,000 views, and yeah, I could have.
Yeah.
I could have.
No, Reza, I just pulled out a bunch of old shit. I was like, holy shit, this is good
Mm.
stuff. So I'm gonna start posting that stuff up too on the channel. Some old ESPN tournaments. I got a Yukon Jack. I got a few on there. Some of them I gave to Gary.
Quick question before we get off.
What's up?
Eric, 3 exercises you would recommend. We got 1 minute to a new arm wrestler.
To a new arm wrestler, guy walking down the street, never arm wrestled before. 3 exercises I'm going to give him.
Yeah.
We'll do just to build the muscle coordination or synergy, whatever you want to call it. We'll start with pull-ups, neutral grip pull-ups. After that, I would go to standard barbell wrist curls that go down to your fingertips. I think it works your fingers once you let it go down there. Once you get your fingers done, you can fluctuate to your wrists because it's smaller diameter, so it can hit your wrist really well. So I think just letting a barbell go down, that's simple. You can find it in any gym. Then after that, it would be mostly wrist stuff because wrist takes the longest to develop. So pull-ups, wrist curls, and then I would go to some kind of bicep curl, probably a pronated bicep curl, which will hit your pronation, your elbow flex, your pronator teres will hit that, and also start building your brachialis and your bicep stuff. So some kind of pronating curl.
You're awesome, Bubba. We appreciate having you on the show. We got to get you on again. Until next time.
Thank you for having me.
Let's do a part 2.